So what is going on, everybody? Fernando Silva here with another video, and if you guys follow the channel, then you know that I'm a big Apple sheep, right? I follow that Apple ecosystem. I use AirDrop a lot, iMessage, I record everything on this channel on this iPhone 11 Pro Max, then AirDrop all the footage to my iPad Pro, and then edit it LumaFusion, and then send it out into YouTube and things like that. So I'm very, very in the Apple ecosystem, right? I even have my Apple Watch to use as a viewfinder for when I'm recording these videos to make sure that I'm in frame. So everything kind of revolves around that Apple ecosystem to make sure I'm as productive as possible, but also kind of keep things cheap and make sure that I'm using the devices around me to get the most out of them, essentially, right? Because I could use a regular camera, then an SSD with an SD card reader, then import it, kind of all those things. But I've been just in love with the Apple ecosystem, especially for this channel. But what I wanted to do was test out this new Google Pixel 5a. So Google actually sent me this. They didn't ask me to review it. They didn't ask for anything, right? So I could have not made a video, but I wanted to make one because I'm overall very, very impressed with this Android phone, right? I'm not an Android user whatsoever. I've owned a Note 10 in the past, but never really used it. The last time I had a SIM card in an Android phone was the Nexus 5, which was back in 2012 or 2013. It was when the iPhone had the iPhone 5 and the 5S. So it's been a while since I've really kind of dove into the Android world, and I wanted to give you guys kind of my 2 cents, my experience with it, and whether or not I would recommend this to an Apple user, or if I would recommend kind of switching all the way over to Android. But I know it was a long intro, just want to give you guys a synopsis, but let's get into it. So real quick, we'll talk about the specs, but I'm only gonna give you the specs that matter, right? So the main specs that matter on this guy is you get 128 gigabytes for the base model, and I believe that's the only model they sell. The number one selling point is the actual price, which is $449 for this phone. So you're in that lower mid-tier budget kind of frame, because again, these iPhones, the 11 Pro Max is $1,100, the 11 or the iPhone 12 was $1,000. So this at $450 competes directly with the iPhone SE and some of Samsung's lower budgeted phones. So the real thing that you need to worry about on this thing is the price, the storage amount that you have in there, and then also that it's 5G capable. That's like the only real things that you would need to know. And then from a hardware standpoint, just know that it charges via USB-C, and then you still have the headphone jack on the top, which is awesome. And that's actually one of the use cases that I was using it for these few weeks that I was using it. So the first thing I want to touch on is the design of this phone, because the design of this phone is what really made me kind of think about using it. Because when I've gotten Samsung phones in the past, whether it is the Notes or the Samsung series and all that, the waterfall kind of displays, I don't really like that. Like, I really don't like that. Yes, it looks very cool for pictures. It aesthetically looks amazing, but in the hand, it feels kind of tight and pinchy, like it hurts to hold, and all the accidental touches and things like that. So I'm kind of happy that Google went with a flat display and kept it nice and simple. So the flat display is amazing. This is my first kind of foray into the hole punch camera, so I thought that would be a little bit annoying, but it really isn't at all. So from a design standpoint, I really like it. I love the minimalism, I love the single color, I love how it's like almost black, so it's got a little bit of a green hue to it. The rubber texture is very similar to like the texture you feel on the Magic Keyboard. So I think technically it's made out of aluminum, but it's got a soft touch finish, very resistant to fingerprints. So from a design standpoint, yes, I guess on the forefront it looks a little bit boring, but it works perfectly. And this is the type of design that I like on phones. Very simple, very to the point. The edge-to-edge display that they have on here, no real bezels whatsoever. So big fan of the actual design, especially for $450. Like $400 or even $450, you get a little bit more storage with the iPhone SE. It looks ugly. It looks like a 5 to 7 year old phone. It has that iPhone 8, the iPhone 6 kind of form factor. So now I kind of want to talk about what I use this phone for, right? So the main thing that I use this phone for, right? I actually put my SIM card in here for 4 days. I switched my main SIM card, put it in here to see if I could actually kind of make that transition over. And for the most part, if you really want to move over to Android from Apple, there are workarounds. Let's say if you are in the Apple ecosystem like I am. Like I use AirDrop to send video files from my iPhone to my iPad in order for me to edit those videos and get those videos done. There's a workaround, right? You can use Google's cloud storage, you can use Dropbox. So yeah, there's an extra step. So I have to upload that footage from the Google phone to Dropbox, or I have to let it upload by itself through Google Photos. But again, there's limits to those storage kind of solutions in terms of how free they are, because they are freemium. And then also, like I said, you just kind of run out of space. So there are workarounds, especially on the Google side, because I think you get up to 15 gigabytes of cloud storage for free. So if you're working on one project at a time, then it could work. And that's kind of how I used it, right? I put it into the Google Drive, then I downloaded it to my iPad, and then again, I was kind of just in my flow of things like normal. But there is that one extra step that if you want to break that Apple ecosystem and use an Android phone, that's kind of what you're going to have to go through. So what I mainly used it for while recording was actually the headphone jack. So my microphone plugged directly into here. What I would do is I would sync the audio from the video footage to the audio kind of file, and then I would edit it that way to kind of improve the microphone a little bit. I mean, now we're using a lapel mic, which hopefully makes it sound a little bit better, but overall, that's what I was kind of using it for when it came to my actual workflow with the Android phone. But for the most part, as a phone, it works perfectly, right? Like, it had all the apps that I would need, even had some of the games that I played all the time, like Marvel Strike Force. You know, the texting is a little bit wonky because you don't know what app to use, and iMessage kind of gets deleted and you get kicked out of group chats, which is a little bit annoying, right? That's kind of the biggest deterrent, right? It's the AirDrop and the iMessage and being booted out of like your family group chat or booted out of your friend group chat. Because again, you're going right into texting. You're no longer using data, you're using text messages and SMS to get stuff through. So I know a lot of people use WhatsApp to bypass this, but the people in the circle that I'm in, they don't use WhatsApp. And you know, I don't really use it either. I'd rather just use iMessage. But if you are on an Android phone, that is a form of communication that you can do from a texting standpoint. But like I said, all the apps, like my main apps, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube Studio, like I'm a big proponent of the Google Suite. Like we use the Google Suite at work or Google Workspaces, so it worked well with that. Even like I said, the games that I use on the iPhone, they're all on the Android ecosystem in the Play Store. The only annoying thing was that I'm in Game Center, so everything I'm logged into is through Game Center for like the save games and the save data and things like that. So I did have to start from scratch with my games, but again, they're there. So if you're in the Android ecosystem from the beginning, then you're good to go. And that was one of the things that I was worried about. If I didn't have like those like niche games or those niche applications, but for the most part, there was no situation where there was an app missing or a game missing that I've been using on the iOS, iPadOS, macOS ecosystem. But again, overall, I had a great time with this phone. Like there was nothing that was that detrimental to productivity. Like I said, there are workarounds to go from point A to point B. If you are coming from the Apple world and all you want to do is switch your iPhone to the Android phone, but still use all your macOS and iPadOS stuff, there are workarounds, right? There's cloud storage you can upload footage to. There's different note applications that sync across different platforms. So in my opinion, it's just a matter of what you're used to, what ecosystem you're in, and how quickly and efficiently you want to get stuff done. And if you're willing to deal with those workarounds, like I'm an iPad Pro user that for the longest time dealt with all of those workarounds to use your iPad Pro as your computer. It's getting a little easier because Apple's now making it seem like the iPad is more of a computer and it's getting a little bit easier to go from point A to point B, but that's the idea. I'm used to, like, if I like something enough, I will learn to use it in my workflow, in my, you know, leisure activity stuff, right? And that's what this Android phone is. Like for me, if the whole iMessage and AirDrop thing wasn't an issue, like there'd be no reason not to at least give this a long shot try, because from a form factor standpoint, it's great. The cameras, they work great. The video isn't as good as, let's say, an iPhone 11 Pro Max or a 12 Pro Max, but it gets the job done. You can still record in 4K 60. There have been some people that had heating issues with the 4K 60, but for me, zero issues whatsoever. I think I was able to record like 15 minutes before I stopped it because I didn't want to keep going. Again, 4K 60 on this $450 smartphone that looks like it belongs in 2021 with this form factor. And again, I keep telling people, I love the flat display. I love the edge-to-edge display. I really like the hole punch too, the hole punch cutout for the selfie camera. I prefer that over, you know, things like the notch on the iPhone. But again, I know that the iPhone has Face ID versus this doesn't. And some other little things that I noticed that if you're coming from an iPhone with Face ID, so the fact that the fingerprint scanner is on the back, right? The fingerprint scanner works great, super accurate, super quick, but I am in a lot of situations where my phone is kind of just on my desk like this. So when I have the iPad or the iPhone, I just kind of like hunch over for Face ID, and I've gotten used to that. But for this, I gotta pick up the phone, use my actual Touch ID or the fingerprint scanner, whatever you call it on the Android phone, to then get into the phone, or I gotta put in my 4-digit code. So that's a little bit of a tedious thing that I did notice by picking it up and putting it down multiple times. But overall, like I said, if you're in the Android world, you need a new phone, you're kind of on the market for a mid-tier budget phone, or if you just want to save money and not spend $1,000 or $1,200 on a brand new phone, this for $450, for my use, got me 100% of the way there. But for most people, I guess, that are super into the Android ecosystem, I'm sure it gets you 95% of the way there. Because again, you're dealing with stock Android. You're dealing with how Google intended their OS and their Android OS to work. And that's what I love about this, right? And that's another thing that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the Android 11 ecosystem, and I enjoyed the operating system, very fluid, very easy to use, very familiar in terms of the gesture-based controls, especially if you're coming from iOS, like swipe up to go into multitasking, swipe up to go back to the home screen. You know, you can get rid of all your multitasking stuff. I do like also like that Today view that they have, their own version of the Today view with the Google kind of news feed that you have on the left-hand side. So overall, Android's very intuitive, and my whole opinion on the OS wars is, hey, if you like something enough, you will learn how to use it in your workflow and you'll get over it, right? But for me personally, I still can't get over my efficiency gains by using an iPhone. So for now, we're gonna stick with the iPhone as the main phone, and we're gonna use this phone as a secondary phone, right? I'll put my second SIM card in here. I'll carry it with me at all times just to see what Android is kind of doing and see all the rollouts of the OSs and things like that, because I really enjoyed my time with this phone, and I would recommend it to anybody looking to step into the Android world. But that's pretty much gonna do for this video, everybody. Like I said, I had a lot of fun testing out this Android phone, so shout out to Team Pixel and Google for sending this out. Very, very cool that they wanted to send a iPad-only channel. They wanted to send an Android phone too, to kind of see my perspective, I guess, and see exactly what's going on. But again, if you guys want to see more Android comparisons, like I know Samsung is the only other real big market share tablet creator right now. I would love to maybe test out how Android compares to iOS, and also to see maybe Samsung DeX, if that really kind of makes a big difference in being able to use these tablets as your main computer. So I'm very curious to see how Samsung DeX works. I haven't really played with it since I think like the Note 8 or the Note 9, just to kind of test it out, but I'm curious to see if that really gives you a big efficiency gain by having some sort of real OS, desktop OS, through a tablet. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. This was awesome to test out, so again, shout out Google, and leave a comment below. Would you guys switch to Android coming from Apple? Or like, what's one thing, aside from iMessage and AirDrop, that you use on a daily basis that you really can't do on the Android side? And are you willing to do those workarounds if you really wanna use Android? Let me know in the comments below, I'm always curious. But that's gonna do it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, peace.